Riley Thorne jolted awake, the piercing alarm on his communicator shattering the tranquility of his Sydney home. Heart racing, he fumbled for the device, his fingers trembling with a mix of dread and anticipation. The holographic screen flickered to life, revealing the familiar stern face of Captain Zara Blake, her eyes ablaze with urgency. "Riley, we need you. The Alliance is under attack. It's time to return," Zara's voice crackled through the communicator. Riley's mind raced as he processed her words. He had spent the last 5 years enjoying a quiet life, far removed from the chaos of interstellar warfare. His days were filled with peaceful routines, a stark contrast to the adrenaline-fueled existence he had known as a military strategist in the intergalactic defense forces. Yet, the call of duty had a way of rekindling old flames. "Give me the details, Zara," Riley replied, his voice steady despite the turmoil brewing within. Zara's expression softened momentarily, a fleeting sign of relief. "The Exalaxians have launched a surprise attack on our outer colonies. They've breached our defenses and are pushing towards the core worlds. We're outgunned and outmaneuvered. We need your expertise, Riley." Riley exhaled slowly, the weight of responsibility settling heavily on his shoulders. Memories of battles fought and comrades lost flashed before his eyes, fueling his resolve. "I'll be there," he said, determination hardening his voice. He ended the call and rose from his bed, methodically preparing for what lay ahead. The room, once a sanctuary of peace, now felt like a staging ground for war. He donned his old uniform, the fabric stiff from years of disuse, but still a perfect fit. As he packed his gear, his thoughts wandered to the life he was leaving behind. The serene mornings by the beach, the quiet evenings under the stars, all traded for the uncertainty of battle. Riley paused by the window, gazing out at the city bathed in the soft glow of dawn. "One last mission," he muttered to himself, then turned and left his home. At the spaceport, Riley was greeted by the familiar hum of spacecraft and the bustle of activity. He spotted Zara near the entrance, her commanding presence unmistakable. She wore the same determined look he remembered, a beacon of strength amid the chaos. "Ready to save the universe again?" Zara asked with a hint of a smile. "Always," Riley replied, matching her determined gaze. They boarded the shuttle, the doors sealing them into a capsule of metal and anticipation. As the engines roared to life, Zara briefed Riley on the situation. The Exalaxians, a ruthless alien race known for their strategic brilliance and technological prowess, had exploited a weakness in the Alliance's defense grid. Their attack was swift and brutal, leaving devastation in its wake. "We have a plan, but it's risky," Zara explained. "We need to create a diversion to draw their forces away from the core worlds. That's where you come in." Riley nodded, his mind already working through the possibilities. "What's our first move?" Zara pulled up a holographic map of the battle zone. "We'll head to the central command station and coordinate with the fleet. From there, we can launch a counter-offensive." The shuttle exited hyperspace, the vast expanse of the central command station coming into view. The scene was one of chaos ships in various states of disrepair, emergency lights flashing, and the distant echoes of battle reverberating through the void. Riley's pulse quickened as they docked. The moment the doors hissed open, they were met with a barrage of urgent commands and frantic movements. Soldiers and technicians hurried through the corridors, their faces etched with determination and fear. Inside the command center, Riley and Zara were greeted by Admiral Marcus Hale, a seasoned officer with a reputation for unyielding resolve. "Good to see you, Thorne," Hale said, his voice gruff but welcoming. "We're in a tight spot, and we could use your strategic mind." Riley wasted no time, diving into the tactical readouts and situational reports. He quickly identified a pattern in the Exalaxian attacks, a vulnerability they could exploit. "We need to hit their supply lines," Riley suggested. "Cut off their resources, and we can stall their advance." Hale nodded, his respect for Riley evident. "It's risky, but it might just work. Coordinate with Zara and make it happen." As Riley and Zara prepared to launch the diversion, the station's alarms blared. "Incoming Exalaxian forces," a voice shouted over the intercom. Riley's heart pounded as he and Zara rushed to the observation deck. Through the reinforced glass, they saw a fleet of Exalaxian ships emerging from hyperspace, their sleek designs and menacing presence a stark reminder of the formidable foe they faced. "Ready for this?" Zara asked, her eyes locked on the approaching threat. Riley Thorne braced himself as the shuttle docked with the Alliance's Central Command Station. The moment the hatch opened, he and Captain Zara Blake were greeted by the deafening sounds of chaos and warfare. Soldiers sprinted through the corridors, their faces masks of grim determination, while technicians frantically worked to keep the station operational. "Riley, this way!" Zara shouted over the clamor, leading him towards the command center. The corridors were a maze of activity, but Riley's military instincts kicked in, guiding him through the chaos. As they neared the command center, the gravity of the situation became increasingly clear. The Exalaxians were relentless, their strategic assault testing every defense the Alliance had in place. Inside the command center, Admiral Marcus Hale was orchestrating the defense with the precision of a seasoned conductor. "Thorne, Blake, over here," he called, his voice cutting through the noise. Riley and Zara quickly joined him at a central holographic display showing the current battlefront. The Exalaxian ships, sleek and deadly, were depicted in red, swarming around the blue icons representing the Alliance's fleet. "They're targeting our power generators," Hale said, his brow furrowed. "If they take those out, we're sitting ducks." Riley studied the display, noting the Exalaxians' attack patterns. "We need to create a diversion, draw them away from the generators," he said, his mind racing. "What assets do we have nearby?" Hale gestured to a cluster of blue icons. "We've got a squadron of fighters and a few frigates, but they're barely holding the line." Riley nodded, formulating a plan. "We'll use the fighters to harass their flanks. Meanwhile, the frigates can execute hit-and-run tactics to draw their fire. We need to buy time to reinforce the generators." Zara's eyes gleamed with approval. "I'll lead the fighters," she said, her voice steady. "Good," Riley replied. "I'll coordinate from here." As Zara prepared to depart, Riley caught her arm. "Be careful out there," he said, his voice low. Zara gave him a reassuring smile. "Always, With Zara and the fighter squadron launching their diversion, Riley focused on the command center, issuing orders and monitoring the unfolding battle. The Exalaxians were cunning, their tactics adaptive and ruthless. Yet Riley's strategic mind anticipated their moves, countering each assault with calculated precision. The minutes dragged on, each second a testament to the relentless pressure of command. Riley's eyes darted between the holographic display and the communication feeds, his mind a whirlwind of calculations and contingency plans. Despite their efforts, the Exalaxians were making headway, inching closer to the generators. Suddenly, an alert flashed on the display. "Zalexian boarding parties detected on Deck 12. A technician reported, his voice strained with urgency. Riley's heart sank. If the Exalaxians gained control of the station from within, all their efforts would be for naught. "Seal off Deck 12, he ordered. "Deploy security teams to intercept them." He activated his communicator, contacting Zara. "We've got boarding parties on Deck 12. I need you back here." "On my way," Zara replied, her voice crackling through the static. As Riley coordinated the defense, the tension in the command center was palpable. The sounds of distant explosions and the constant chatter of radio communications created an atmosphere of controlled chaos. Each decision he made carried the weight of lives and the fate of the station. Moments later, Zara re-entered the command center, her uniform singed but her resolve unshaken. "What's the plan?" she asked, joining Riley at the display. Riley pointed to the highlighted section of Deck 12. "We need to secure this area. The Exalaxians are likely targeting the main control room for the generators. If they take it, we're done." Zara nodded. "Let's move." Together, they led a contingent of soldiers through the labyrinthine corridors of the station, the air thick with the scent of burning circuitry and the sounds of distant gunfire. The closer they got to Deck 12, the more intense the resistance became. Zalexian soldiers with their advanced weaponry and tactical armor met them at every turn. Riley's combat instincts kicked in. He barked orders, directing his team with precision. Zara was a force of nature beside him, her movements fluid and lethal. They fought their way through the Exalaxian ranks, pushing towards the control room. As they neared their objective, the corridor suddenly exploded in a hail of gunfire. Riley and his team took cover, returning fire with disciplined precision. The Exalaxians had fortified their position, turning the narrow passage into a deadly gauntlet. "We need to flank them," Riley shouted over the din, gesturing to a side corridor. Zara nodded, signaling half the team to follow her. Riley led the rest, advancing through the side passage. The sounds of battle echoed around them, a cacophony of chaos and determination. They emerged behind the Exalaxian position, catching their enemies by surprise. In the ensuing firefight, Riley's tactical acumen shone. He coordinated his team's movements with unerring accuracy, turning the tide of battle. The Exalaxians, caught off guard, were quickly overwhelmed. With the corridor secured, Riley and Zara pushed into the control room. The Exalaxian leader, a formidable figure in sleek black armor, stood at the control console, his eyes glowing with malevolent intelligence. "End of the line," Riley said, raising his weapon. The Exalaxian snarled, raising his own blaster. But before he could fire, Zara moved with lightning speed, her shot taking him down in a single precise hit. The room fell silent, the immediate threat neutralized. Riley approached the console, quickly securing it. "We're clear," he said, breathing a sigh of relief. As the adrenaline began to subside, Riley glanced at Zara, a mixture of pride and gratitude in his eyes. "We did it." The control room was eerily silent in the aftermath of the skirmish. Riley Thorne stood over the fallen Exalaxian leader, his mind racing with questions. Zara Blake, her eyes sharp and focused, scanned the room for any additional threats. "We need to secure this area and analyze the data," Riley said, his voice steady but urgent. Zara nodded, already moving to the control console. Her fingers danced across the interface, bringing up the Exalaxian tactical data. The holographic displays flickered to life, revealing a chilling overview of the enemy's plans. "They were targeting our main power generators for a reason," Zara murmured, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Look at this." Riley joined her, his eyes narrowing as he studied the data. The Exalaxians' assault patterns and strategic objectives painted a grim picture. They were systematically dismantling the Alliance's defenses, and their ultimate goal became horrifyingly clear. "They're planning to deploy a planet-destroying weapon," Riley muttered, his heart sinking. "If they succeed, it's all over." The weight of their discovery hung heavy in the air. Riley's mind raced, formulating a plan. "We need to get this intel to the Council immediately. They need to understand the full scope of the threat." Zara nodded, her expression resolute. "Agreed. We can't afford to waste any time." They quickly secured the control room, ensuring the data was encrypted and transmitted to the Alliance Council. Riley's communicator buzzed with an incoming message from Admiral Hale. "Thorne, Blake, report." Hale's voice crackled through the device. "Admiral, we've secured the control room and uncovered critical intel," Riley replied. "The Exalaxians are planning to deploy a planet-destroying weapon. We need to act fast." There was a moment of silence as Hale processed the information. "Understood. Return to the command center. We need to plan our next move." As they made their way back, the station's corridors were filled with the sounds of ongoing battles. The station's defenses were holding, but the Exalaxians' relentless assault was taking its toll. Riley and Zara moved swiftly, their focus unwavering despite the chaos around them. Back in the command center, the atmosphere was tense. The holographic display now showed a more detailed overview of the Exalaxian fleet and their weapons' projected trajectory. Admiral Hale's face was grim. "We've confirmed the intel. This weapon is capable of annihilating entire planets. We need a plan to stop it." Riley stepped forward, his strategic mind already at work. "We need to infiltrate their main ship and sabotage the weapon from within. It's the only way to ensure it's completely neutralized." Hale nodded, his gaze intense. "It's a dangerous mission, but it's our best shot. Riley, Zara, you'll lead the team." Zara exchanged a determined look with Riley. "We'll get it done, sir." Preparations were swift. Riley and Zara assembled a team of elite soldiers, each one handpicked for their skills and bravery. The mission was clear: infiltrate the Exalaxian flagship, locate the weapon, and disable it before it could be deployed. The journey to the Exalexian ship was fraught with tension. The shuttle, cloaked in advanced stealth technology, slipped through the enemy's defenses. Riley's mind was a whirlwind of strategies and contingencies, each one more desperate than the last. Upon boarding the Exalexian ship, the team moved with silent precision. The corridors were dimly lit, filled with the hum of alien machinery. Every step was a calculated risk, every corner a potential ambush. Riley led the way, his senses heightened. He paused at a junction, holding up a hand to signal the team. "Hold! I hear something." The team froze, their weapons at the ready. Riley peered around the corner, spotting a group of Exian soldiers. He gestured to Zara, indicating a flanking maneuver. They moved with practiced efficiency, catching the Exalexians by surprise. The ensuing firefight was brief but intense, the air filled with the acrid scent of plasma fire. With the immediate threat neutralized, Riley signaled for the team to advance. They reached the weapons control room, the heart of the Exalexian ship. The room was dominated by a massive central console, pulsating with energy. Riley's eyes narrowed as he approached the console, his mind racing to decipher the alien technology. "Zara, cover me," he ordered, his fingers flying over the controls. Zara and the team formed a defensive perimeter, their eyes scanning for any signs of reinforcements. Riley worked quickly, his hands moving with a blend of urgency and precision. The console's interface was a maze of symbols and commands, but his military training and strategic mind helped him piece together its functions. Just as he began to disable the weapon's core systems, an alarm blared, and the room was flooded with Exalexian soldiers. The team opened fire, the room erupting into chaos. Riley's heart pounded as he worked faster, knowing that time was running out. "Riley, we've got to move!" Zara shouted, her voice barely audible over the din of battle. "Just a few more seconds," Riley replied, his voice strained with concentration. The tension in the room was palpable as the Exalexians pressed their attack. Riley's hands moved in a blur, and finally, with a decisive keystroke, the weapon systems began to shut down. "Got it?" he shouted, turning to face the team. "We need to get out of here, now." As they fought their way back to the shuttle, the Exalexian ship shuddered with the force of internal explosions. The team moved with desperate urgency, their path lit by the flickering lights of the dying ship. They barely made it to the shuttle, diving inside as the ship's systems began to fail. The shuttle launched, racing away from the doomed Exalexian flagship. Riley watched as the enemy ship imploded, the weapon neutralized, and their mission a success. Chapter 4: The Final Stand. The shuttle's journey back to the Alliance Central Command was marked by an uneasy silence. Riley Thorne and Captain Zara Blake, though momentarily relieved by their success, knew the battle was far from over. The Exalexians' weapon was neutralized, but the war still raged on. As they docked at the station, Admiral Marcus Hale's stern face greeted them. "Excellent work, both of you," he said, his voice carrying the weight of their shared burdens. But the Exalexians aren't retreating. They're regrouping for a final assault. Riley exchanged a knowing look with Zara. "Then we need to strike first," he said, his tone resolute. "We can't let them regain their footing." Hale nodded, bringing up a holographic map of the battlefield. "Our intelligence suggests they're massing their forces at their command ship. If we take it out, we can disrupt their entire operation." "Let's not waste any time," Zara said, her voice steely. "We need to hit them hard and fast." Within moments, Riley and Zara were once again at the forefront of the action. Their shuttle, laden with reinforcements and armed to the teeth, hurtled towards the Exalexian command ship. The tension was palpable, each second a countdown to what could be their final confrontation. As they approached, the scale of the enemy fleet became apparent. Exalexian ships, sleek and ominous, filled the void, their weapons glinting menacingly. Riley's mind raced with strategies, each more daring than the last. "We need to divide their forces," he muttered to Zara, who was piloting the shuttle with unwavering focus. "If we can create enough chaos, we might stand a chance." Zara nodded, her hands steady on the controls. "Let's give them a reason to spread out," she said, initiating a series of evasive maneuvers that drew enemy fire. Their shuttle weaved through the onslaught, narrowly avoiding blasts of plasma and laser fire. Riley's heart pounded as he issued commands to their reinforcements, orchestrating a series of feints and counterattacks designed to fracture the Exalaxian formation. The plan worked. As the enemy ships adjusted to the new threat, gaps began to appear in their defenses. Riley seized the opportunity, directing a concentrated strike on the command ship's weakest points. "Target their engines and weapon systems," he ordered, his voice calm despite the chaos. Explosions rippled through the Exalaxian fleet, the enemy ships reeling from the unexpected assault. Riley and Zara's shuttle pressed forward, cutting a path through the turmoil. The closer they got to the command ship, the fiercer the resistance became. "We're almost there," Zara said, her eyes locked on the massive structure ahead. "Just a bit more,"